I read Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca. Here are my thoughts.
When we recount the past, when we speak from memory, we immortalize the person or event.
Every time their name is uttered, their existence hinted at, or their presence is felt, like a cold chill in the halls of a grand estate like Manderley, memories are instantly resurrected. Scent has the power to bring back the dead and gone. Familiar places and conversations remind us of what once was. Do you get deja vu when she's with you?
Since memory is told from perspective, the regurgitator has control over characterization. This may result in altering the past to fit a narrative.
It's difficult to tell the whole truth of the past, and memory changes over time. When we finally hear the truth about Rebecca, we hear it from Maxim, who, like the narrator, we've been waiting to hear from him the whole time. But why? Who knows if he's a reliable source? Why should we trust Maxim's judgment? Why should we trust anyone? Rebecca reminded me of a fact that terrifies me. We may never know the truth of someone's past. Do we really know who people are behind closed doors? Do we really know what they're like when they're alone? Who are we if not made up of other people's perception of us? Through immortalizing the past, we act as the steering wheel. We decide what story we're going to tell and which route we're taking. And at times, we may sensationalize or underwhelm the severity of it. Maybe liars. We share other people's life stories from our perspective. It's all a remix, an adaptation. The person telling the story of the past is the person who holds all of the control. They control the characterization and the narrative. For example, have you ever experienced someone discussing a third party? So like somebody talking about someone and you didn't like them. They talked them up with adoration. Now imagine that person's still talking about the third party. Tell someone else what that person was like. You see this as an inconsistency, a false depiction, a lack of reality. Memory always lies in the storyteller's perspective. It is so difficult for the narrator to just take it upon herself and try to understand what Rebecca was really like, try to sit with like the warning signs that were given to her. Instead, she trusts what Mrs. Danvers believes and jumps to conclusions with the little information that Beatrice and Frank give her. She sensationalizes the loss of Rebecca. In my personal opinion, there were a lot of moments that Rebecca was not as perfect and poised as the narrator deemed her to be. When I was reading, I was like, she seems very introverted. She seems like her and Maxim don't have a good relationship. How did they find her? How did it take 2 months to find her? Did he not notice she was missing? Do they live separate lives? Like, I was thinking all of these things as I was getting information about her. But it's very difficult for the narrator to do that because when you're in it, it's very hard to see clearly, but when you're outside of it, you can see it from a whole different perspective. Truth is, no one is perfect, but within the narrator's own insecurities, she assumed that this figure was. It made me think of the Sharp Objects quote, "It's impossible to compete with the dead. I wished I could stop trying." When you do not ask, or there is a lack of communication or truth, you are left to assume, to invent. You become the creator, the storyteller, the fabricator. On page 309, this is after Maxim has his whole like confession scene and he tells her who Rebecca really is. The narrator says, "They were all fitting into place, the jigsaw pieces, the odd, strange shapes that I had tried to piece together with my fumbling fingers, and they had never fitted. Frank's odd manner when I spoke about Rebecca, Beatrice and her rather diffident negative attitude, the silence that I had always taken for sympathy and regret was a silence born of shame and embarrassment. It seemed incredible to me now that I had never understood. I wondered how many people there were in the world who suffered and continued to suffer because they cannot break out from their own web of shyness and reserve, and in their blindness and folly built up a great distorted wall in front of them that hid the truth. This is what I had done. I had built up false pictures in my mind and sat before them. I had never had the courage to demand the truth. Had I made one step forward out of my own shyness, Maxim would have told me these things 4 months ago, 5 months ago."
When I was reading, I was noticing that there was a lot of insecurity, imagination, dissociation. All of these were going hand in hand within this book, and I thought they were really interesting to see through the quotes and through the narrator's thought process.
The ghost of the girlfriend's past, the case of the ex. Retroactive jealousy is a term for an obsessive fixation on your partner's past relationship history. The root of the problem with jealousy is insecurity. People feel insecure, less than, and comparable to the ex. In some cases, you don't know what the ex was like, so you're left to assume. The narrator often made comparisons to feeling like a child, being regarded as a child or a dog. This made me incredibly sad for her. Throughout the novel, she's very dissociative. She has maladaptive daydreams, and she wants to just rush to that part of her life that everything's figured out, and she knows more. She's more aware. She's more educated. She's older. She's wiser. She has more knowledge. It was impossible for that to happen because Maxim chose her because she was young and naive and hadn't experienced anything like his wrath. Like, literally, when I catch you. I felt very seen reading her. Like, I know a lot of people are reading Coriolanus Snow, and there's memes about, like, seeing themselves, like, in his dialogue, or in his, like, voice, and being like, why do I relate to Coriolanus Snow? That's how I felt about the narrator and Rebecca, and I don't know if that's a good thing or crazy, but I like when I am reading a book and I feel very seen, and it's just the best thing ever. And all her, like, very out of the present, like, just wanting to skip to the part when she's got everything's gonna be okay, and not really going through anything, or she's just, like, so nervous and everything. So she wants to be older, more mature, educated, more sure of herself. She's always envisioning a different life than the present. She's very outside of her body. I compiled mentions of identity issues and low self-esteem within the novel that I was like, wow, this is like Coco crazy, and so sad and so relatable. I wished I was a woman of about 36, dressed in black satin with a string of pearls, and I began to feel more like the self I wanted to become, the self I had pictured in my dreams, who made Manderley her home. I wish I knew what to say, what to do. You look like Alice in Wonderland. I wished he would not always treat me like a child. I did not want to be a child. I wanted to be his wife, his mother. I wanted to be old. I had tried it. This is when she's trying on the wig. On before breakfast, and was amazed at the transformation. I looked quite attractive, quite different altogether, not me at all. Someone much more interesting, more vivid and alive. My own dull personality was submerged at last. I did not recognize the face that stared at me in the glass. This is the sort of moment that I shall laugh at years afterwards. It was not the future, it was the present. It was too vivid and too real. I wish I could lose my identity and join them. It's a universal instinct of the human species, isn't it? That desire to dress up in some sort of disguise.
To remember is to be punished.
In Act 1, before Manderley, before the narrator agrees to be Maxim's wife, the narrator is thinking about preserving the memory that's happening between them. And she talks about wanting to be able to relive it all over again. On page 40, the narrator states, "If there only could be an invention," I said impulsively, "that bottled up a memory, like scent. And it never faded, and it never got stale, and then, when one wanted it, the bottle could be uncorked, and it would be like living the moment all over again." Maxim, stricken with memories of the past he'd most want to forget, disagrees about reliving memories. For him, the memory of Rebecca is a punishment, something he can't escape from. On page 42, Maxim says, "A little while ago you talked about an invention," he said, "some scheme for capturing a memory. You would like, you told me, at a chosen moment to live the past again. I'm afraid I think rather differently from you. All memories are bitter, and I prefer to ignore them. Something happened a year ago that altered my whole life, and I want to forget every phase in my existence up to that time. Those days are finished. They are blotted out. I must begin living all over again. The first day we met, your Mrs. Van Hopper asked me why I came to Monte Carlo. It put a stopper on those memories you would like to resurrect. It does not always work, of course. Sometimes the scent is too strong for the bottle, and too strong for me. And then the devil in one, like a furtive peeping Tom, tries to draw the cork." Memory was not a form of punishment yet for the narrator. Since Maxim brought her back to Manderley, his perspective of memory encroached upon the narrator. And now she shares his same opinion for memory. But at the time, it was strange because it wasn't her own memory. that was bothersome. It was the memory of someone else, their shadow. It wasn't personal. It wasn't something that she had experienced. It was not her own memory until it was. On page 133, the narrator writes, "There was a pink mark upon the handkerchief, the mark of lipstick. She had rubbed her lips with the handkerchief and then rolled it in a ball and left it in the pocket. I wiped my fingers with the handkerchief, and as I did so I noticed that a dull scent clung about it still, a scent I recognized, a scent I knew. I shut my eyes and tried to remember. It was something elusive, something faint and fragrant that I could not name. I had breathed it before, touched it surely that very afternoon. And then I knew that the vanished scent upon the handkerchief was the same as the crushed white petals of the azaleas in the Happy Valley." She doesn't share his opinion for memory being haunting or having anything really like bad happen to her until he brought her into his life, his stupid fucking life. So it was really interesting for me to finish the book and then go back to the beginning and read it from now knowing like everything and the stuff I had forgot when I had read it or didn't really understand. On page 4, she writes, "The house was a sepulchre. Our fear and suffering lay buried in the ruins. There would be no resurrection. When I thought of Manderley in my waking hours, I would not be bitter. I should think of it as it might have been, could I have lived there without fear. I should remember the rose garden in summer and the birds that sang at dawn, tea under the chestnut tree, and the murmur of the sea coming up to us from the lawns below. I would think of the blown lilac and the Happy Valley. These things were permanent, they could not be dissolved. They were memories that cannot hurt. All this I resolved in my dream, while the clouds lay across the face of the moon, for like most sleepers, I knew that I dreamed. In reality, I lay many hundred miles away in an alien land, and would wake before many seconds had passed, in the bare little hotel bedroom, comforting in its very lack of atmosphere. I would sigh a moment, stretch myself in turn, and opening my eyes, be bewildered at that glittering sun, that hard, clean sky, so different from the soft moonlight of my dream. The day would lie before us, long no doubt and uneventful, but fraught with a certain stillness, a dear tranquility we had not known before. We would not talk of Manderley. I would not tell of my dream, for Manderley was ours no longer. Manderley was no more." On page 5, she writes, "We can never go back again. That much is certain. The past is still too close to us. The things we have tried to forget and put behind us would stir again, and that sense of fear, of furtive unrest, struggling at length to blind, unreasoning panic, now mercifully stilled, thank God, might in some manner unforeseen become a living companion, as it had been before." We're currently in my bookshelf, can you tell? I hope you guys liked this review on Rebecca, or this essay on Rebecca. I really loved reading it, and I just felt called to write an essay on it, and I really actually want to get back to doing that again. Like, I started this channel doing my Keeper of the Key series, which was like music reviews, and I want to get back into doing essays on art. So if you are new here, hello, my name is Aster. If you are a returning subscriber, hello. Things are changing a bit, but it's a good sort of change, and we'll see what happens. I always am kind of changing what I want to do. I guess I'm just trying to figure out what I like to do on this channel, but I think this is staying for now. I really enjoyed watching the Hitchcock version of this movie. I just like the nautical, gothic, coastal horror vibe. It started with Rebecca. It started with Widow's Bay, and then it happened, and then it turned into Rebecca, and then I watched The Uninvited, which is also a 1940s black and white movie, coastal gothic. If you have any coastal gothic recommendations, please put them in the comments, because I'm in that vibe. I also recently made my Stormmaster spell oil, so it's all within that thread of sea gothic. Sea hag. I'm currently reading The Secret History. I don't know, I can't promise that I will do an essay on it, because I don't know if I'm gonna like it or not, but so far I'm enjoying it. In the beginning, I like the aesthetic of it. It's pretty difficult to read, I will admit that. Let me know what you guys think if you've read it or if you've heard of it, and what your opinions are on it. So on this channel, I'm trying to be a little bit more stable. I think I've been like Will Graham, unstable, trying a bunch of different things, being very flighty, I guess. So I'm trying to be more grounded, bring it back down, and like have one clear thing, and hopefully this is it. So you can expect from me in the future essays or conversations or reviews regarding art. So that's books that I love, music that I love, type of media like TV and movies. Subscribe so you can see the next one. And thank you for being here. If you want to read the written version of it, it's going to be available on my Substack. That is linked in my bio, so go check that out. And yeah, you can follow my socials if you want. I have some exciting things going on. I sell spell oils on Etsy now, so if you want to check them out, they will also be in my link tree. But for now, I wanted to do this video today because it was a bit rainy, so it was giving stormy, and it was just all the great comfy cozy vibes. Hopefully I can create more comfy cozy content because that's just the best. And I think it's really hard to do it how I've been trying to do it before. I think I'm just gonna keep to this camera and that's it. So anyway, I'll see you in the next one.